Tubers, tubettes, and of course my favorite group, the Crazy People. I did a video about a month ago posing the question, should I have surgery here in the Philippines or should I go back to America? The surgery specifically being that of having cataracts removed, and also I need to have these hardcore eye bags lifted because they are compromising the lower lid of my eye and causing tears to fall. In other words, they're not being able to collect properly. So I don't need one, I need two surgeries. Can I find somebody competent and trustworthy out here? So in this video, I'm going to answer that question. I'm also going to go over the various options that I found available, and I'm going to go through some of the high points of all of this. I'm going to explain how yesterday I got super lucky and super excited, and how today I went down in flames and I may have to put the kibosh on the whole deal. All right, so if you're ready for the story, here it comes. All righty then. So last month when I did that original video, my real dilemma was, can I find somebody out here in the Philippines that I trust and I feel is competent? Or would it just be more prudent for me to spend the money and go home and use my Medicare and use somebody that I've heard of or been referred to, etc., etc.? The good news for me is I went to my eye clinic here that originally diagnosed me a year and a half ago and prescribed me glasses. The doctor there said, Paul, you're a level 2, you're okay, this is a year and a half ago. You can get by with glasses, but in a year or so, you're going to need to have the surgery. Well, it's been a year or so, and I went back in, and sure enough, I've gone from a stage 2 to a stage 3, and it's getting really hard for me to see, and it's almost impossible for me to see and certainly drive at night. So, when I spoke with the optician there, I think I'm saying that right, and surgeon, she no longer performs the surgeries. God bless her, she's going through chemotherapy. And she says, I've taken myself out of the surgery rotation while I'm treating my own condition, yet I've left my clinic open. And I said, okay, well, I'm sorry to hear that. We talked about that a little bit. I said, what do you suggest that I do? Go somewhere? Do you have a doctor that you would refer me to? And here in the Philippines, Cebu or Manila or wherever? And she said, the good news, Paul, is that this doctor comes to Dumaguete 2 days a month, every month. He comes on Thursdays and Fridays, usually about the middle of the month. And he not only performs surgeries, but he'll also be able to give you an examination and a diagnosis and all that. And I said, how do you feel about this guy? And she looked me in the blues, even though they're not blue, and said, I'll let him operate on my kids. And that was pretty strong, coming from a doctor. I'd heard that before from someone in America, and it turned out to be true when I had my neck operation back in 2000, but I digress. Anyway, so I said, well, when can I see this guy? And she said, well, he'll be in on a Friday. This was about 3 weeks ago. And you can come in and just show up at 9 o'clock, get in line, and when he can see you, he can see you. And I said, okay, does he just do, I said, he does the cataracts, right? She says, yes. He's very good. Like I said, well, I have this separate problem down here, which is these hardcore eye bags. I said, do you have someone that you could recommend here locally that's a plastic surgeon or does cosmetic surgery that you feel comfortable? She said, I sure do. It's the same doctor. That's all he does. So this guy is, I think, top drawer. I don't know how else to put it. And when she speaks of him, and when I met him, he simply solidified what she had already implanted into my thinking cap. This guy knows his stuff. When I did the examination with him, he says, I don't need to dilate your eyes, Paul. I've read her reports. He says, let me look at them real quick. He says, yeah, you're a 3. And I said, well, what about these bags here? And so he said, holy crap. And he got out and looked at them under a magnifying glass, and he was pulling on it. And he said, these are festoons. This is really hardcore. And I go, I know. I said, what causes that? He said, you know what? No one knows. And another interesting little factoid, he says, it only happens to Caucasians. So black people, Asian people, Indian people, I don't know, Japanese, you name it, Greeks, we could go on forever here. Don't get this. They get eye bags and they get dark circles from lack of sleep, and they definitely get bags under their eyes, but nothing like this. This is a Caucasian thing. So I said, well, okay, it is what it is. And I said, what would you do? And he told me, he said, I would take this. He says, I would actually have to pull it up so far because it's so bad that I would have to actually give you a slanted eye that would last for about 3 weeks. And my wife was sitting there with me watching this whole thing, and she saw my eye look like hers, and I said, so my first reaction was, so that means I can get local prices at the vegetable stand? And he started laughing, and my wife started laughing. So from there, it got kind of lighthearted. And he goes, here's the deal. He says, if I take it up just to the normal area, to where we don't change the shape of your eye at all, it's going to, after it heals, it's going to droop again. And you're going to have nothing like you've got now, but it's going to be a small bag under your eye. And he says, and I don't see what the point of doing that is. He says, so if I take it up all the way and cinch it up a little tighter, it will, over 3 weeks' time, tops, it'll drop that down naturally, and you'll be fine. You'll just have to look kind of Chinese for about 3 weeks, which is fine with me. And I said, okay, so have you done this a lot? He goes, oh man, I can't recall how many times I've done it. I do it so many times per month, I couldn't tell you how much. So I felt very, very comfortable with him. I said, do you do any other kind of cosmetic surgery? I was kind of feeling him out. Nope, I'm just an eye guy. And this is part of the deal. I've never seen, he goes, well, I didn't say never. He says, I rarely see anything this deep. Yours is going to be interesting. He said, in America, sometimes they just cut this out. But I don't like doing that because they do that because it's cheaper, for one. And number two, he says, it does leave a scar, and it does not completely take care of the bag for the cosmetic reasons. So if we can make you look a little nicer, which I could use a lot of, he said, I'd like to do that for you. I said, great. I said, how do I book with you? How do I do this? He says, well, I'm in town twice a month. 2 days out of each month. So just go talk to my receptionist and or his nurse and book an appointment, and we'll see you later. Bye. I said, okay. And they went over the pricing, which I'll go over with you. So I went out to talk to them, and I failed to mention in the beginning that when we went to go see our doctor, or my doctor, a month ago, we got there early and we were number 1. Got there early, we get in line, you get a number from the security guard. When we went to go see this guy, we got there early, same time, and we were number 7. This place was packed to see this guy. And that's a good sign. If a lot of people are coming to see one doctor, that says a lot. It's kind of like going by a restaurant and seeing it packed full of people, or a line going around the block to get in. You know they've got good food. Another thing that gave me courage and gave me confidence in this man was when I went to go book with him, I couldn't get in for 2 months. It was in September that I saw him, and October, September and October were booked, and I couldn't get in until November. So my option was so I went back in and talked to him again. And I said, hey man, you're booked up for 2 months. Can I fly to Cebu where you're at? He said, yeah. He says, if you do that, you just call my office, make an appointment, and I can get you handled. And I can do it there. He says, but when I'm here, I'm working, all day Thursday doing surgeries. Friday, which is the day I was seeing him, I'm talking to new clients, and then I go do surgeries after lunch. And then I go back to Cebu. And they said, fair enough. So I was resigned to the fact that I was going to need to make an appointment and go to Cebu and get it done, because I don't want to wait 2 months. I'm a guy that wants to get things done and over with, and I justified it by saying, you know what, I checked with him. We would only have to stay there one night. If I did the surgery with him, I don't have to go back and get checked by him the next day. I could fly back to Dumaguete and see the physician that's here, that's going through the chemo, that runs the shop that he was working out of. It's called ACES. And she would be able to double check and make sure everything was copacetic. And if there was an issue, consult with him and all this, that, and the other. And so the only choice I had to make was, which lens do I want to put in? There's all kinds of different lenses, and you can have your combination, but the two that I focused on was a mono, which means that they pull the lens out, they replace it with this mono, and the other option is multifocal. And the primary difference between the two is, number one, price. The multifocal is about twice the price of the mono. A lot of those have to be specially ordered for the specific eye. Doesn't necessarily mean they would be in stock. And I said, what's the difference between the mono and the multifocal? Why would someone choose the multifocal? And the multifocal, I was told by both doctors, eliminates the need for glasses whatsoever. It's good for distance, it's good for reading, it's good for the whole enchilada. It's probably 20/20 vision or something to that effect. The mono will correct your vision with the exception of reading. You will require to wear reading glasses. Now, I've been wearing glasses for 40 years, and to be honest with you, they don't bother me. So for me to buy a pair of glasses that's just progressive down as readers, as they say, doesn't bother me a bit. And I can live with that. It really wasn't an issue of the price. It was an issue of, it sounded like there was a big hassle factor with ordering the multifocal, making sure it was in stock. And then I also asked, what's the negatives to the multifocal? And they said they are more prone to giving you halos. When you're driving at night and a headlight hits you, it can create a halo effect, where that's less likely to happen with the monos. My primary objective here is just to get my vision corrected, get these bags lifted up and out of the way, and move on with my day. So, and I'll go over the prices with every stage of this when I get done with my sob story. So I said, okay, the day before yesterday, I drove down to check in with the doctor because before I do anything, I had to have, I won't pull out the paperwork, I had to have my eye measured. And no matter what lens I'm going to take, that was something I had to come back and do. So I went in the day before yesterday to do that, and the place was just packed with people, and then they were going to go to lunch. So I said, screw it, we'll come back tomorrow. So that was yesterday. Yesterday, I went in, I went in to get measured, and they did that. I sat down with the receptionist. She said, "Do you want me to call Cebu for you and make an appointment for you to go to Cebu and get this done? Have you decided which lens you want to do?" I said, "Yeah, I have. I want to do this one. I want to do the mono." "Okay, good." So she wrote it all down, told me the cost, and what I would have to pay. Don't have to pay anything now. Just make the appointment. They did the test, and she said, "You're in luck." She said, "You're one of the luckiest guys I know." This is yesterday. I said, "Why is that?" She goes, "Do you know that he just had a cancellation about 30 minutes ago? And every time he has a cancellation, someone else jumps on it. So you can have your surgery here in Dumaguete in 2 weeks. You don't have to go to Cebu." I said, "You're kidding me." She said, "Yeah, it's awesome." I said, "That is awesome. Sign me up, girlfriend." So she goes, "And I got some more good news for you, because it's October. He's got an opening in November that we can do the other eye. There's a 30-day space between doing the one eye to the other. You have to do one eye, you wait 30 days, and then you can do the other. And as a sidebar, you can actually switch it up and you can do a multifocal in this one if you so desire. But that's another conversation. So she said, "Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write you out a prescription. You got to take that you can get filled with some eye drops that you have to do the day of the surgery. And then there's one pill that you have to take. I forget, it's on the prescription, either before the surgery or an hour after the surgery, probably some kind of antibiotic. I didn't quiz it too much." And then she said, "Oh, and you need to go get a medical clearance from your physician that it's okay for her or him, gives you that you're in good enough shape to go down to, or to have the surgery, because you're going to be under a local anesthesia, and they want to make sure that you're healthy enough to withstand the surgery." I said, "No problem." So that was yesterday. And then today, I got in the car with my wife, and I said, "Well, we did this, we did that. I met a friend for breakfast. I met some other guys for some coffee." And I said, "We got to go by Holy Child," which is where my doctor, my little local physician, if you will, my general practitioner is located, Holy Child Hospital. She has an office there. I said, "We'll waltz in there. I'm sure she's just going to take my blood pressure, and she'll put the stethoscope on my chest, and to take my temperature and say, 'Yeah, you're cool, you're good to go.'" Oh no, that wasn't the case. She indeed took my blood pressure, and it was high. And she had prescribed me blood pressure pills, and I haven't been taking them. I've been a bad boy. Because between you, me, and a fence post, I don't like taking statin drugs. I just adverse to them. And I was fighting it. And so she said, and I'm a smoker, which is not good. I know. And you can go ahead and beat me up in the comments. That elevates your blood pressure. Plus, I drink a lot of coffee in the morning. That'll elevate your blood pressure. And then driving with my wife and trying to find a parking space will elevate my blood pressure. But 130 is a number where you're cool. I came in at a smooth 149, and that's like borderline dangerous. That's like level 2 hypertension shit. And so right there I failed. I said, "Oh no." And so she goes, "Listen, pal," she doesn't talk that way, but this is kind of what she's getting across. "I'm going to write you a new prescription, and I'm going to write you for a little stronger blood pressure, and you're going to start taking them." And she looked at my wife and she says, "Make sure he takes one of these every day, will you?" And May's like, "Yes." I could see her. I know the first thing in the morning or at night, she's going to be popping that pill in my mouth. Okay, so that should solve that problem. That should bring the blood pressure down. I can cut back on the smoking. Eventually, it's my goal this year to quit smoking, but again, that's another video for another time. And I'm going to probably have to lighten up on my caffeine intake. The good news is I don't drink a lot of soda or that kind of stuff. The other part was I had to get a chest x-ray. I have to get blood work done. My sugar levels have to be checked. I could read off this litany of stuff that they have to do. And it's got to get done within 2 weeks. And there's just, I'll just real quick, fasting blood sugar, lipid panel, potassium, sodium, creatine, uric acid, something I don't understand, something else I don't understand, bleeding time, clotting time, routine, complete blood count. You get the idea. And so I needed to get an x-ray, an EKG, and all this blood work. And so she said, the doctor, that's my doctor, my physician here at Holy Child, she said, all right, what you're going to do is I'm going to give you a prescription for your blood pressure. Go fill that puppy. And then you're going to go down to get an x-ray and possibly, and then schedule to do your blood workup because you have to fast. So you'll have to do that tomorrow morning and you'll have to be here at 6:30 in the morning. That's tomorrow. That's my day tomorrow. 6:30 in the morning, I have to be back at Holy Child to do the fasting blood test. So we went to go do the x-ray. And we got in line, and I said, okay, we're here to do an x-ray. And they said, well, our x-ray machine is broken. And I said, well, welcome to the Philippines. I'm glad I didn't break a leg today. And I just got into a bike accident with a broken x-ray machine. And I said, all right, so what do I do? And she said, well, I don't know what to tell you, sir. That was the little girl behind the counter. And she said, but you can go ahead and make an appointment for all your other stuff for tomorrow. And if you want to, you can go ahead and pay for it. And I said, you know what? I'll go ahead and do that. I'll figure out the x-ray later. Anyway, me, I just want to do it now. I want to get it over and done with. You know, I'm one of those guys that's just like that. Anyway, but the x-ray machine's broke. There's no way I can go back and fix it. So I'll do the next best thing. I went ahead and I paid for it. And I made a little note somewhere for you guys. Oh, it's right here. To do all these tests, not including the x-ray, but EKG, the sugar count, the blood count, the this count, the that count, came to a total of $82. So I thought that was fairly reasonable to do all those tests. The key here is getting them back in time, which I'm pretty sure, since I've got 2 weeks to play with, it's usually 2 or 3 days to get the results back. And then after I paid for everything, she said, this being the receptionist that's taking my money and setting up the appointment, she said, and you know what? You can do an EKG right now because that's working and you can do it here. So that's exactly what we did. That's probably what you're seeing in the thumbnail if I use that picture. Me getting an EKG and I don't know what it says. I know I've got it. It's sitting right here. I got to show it to the doctor, see if my ticker's working. And that's that. So I went back to the doctor while I was at Holy Child, and I said, guess what? And she said, what's that, Paul? I said, x-ray machine's not working. And so she kind of laughed and said, well, okay. Because Holy Child is kind of like one of the, it's not one of your top gun medical facilities, but it's good for what we use it for the most part. I said, what do you recommend? And she says, I would recommend that you drive down to ACE. ACE is much more modern. I know they are. I've had experiences with them. God knows I've driven enough friends to ACE Hospital that I know their routine. So that's what we did today. We drove down to ACE and I got my x-ray. And I got to tell you, if I could complain, I would, but I got no complaints with Ace. I've had my complaints with them in the past, the way they've treated some of my friends. But this time I waltzed in there and I went up to admitting and I said, I need to get an X-ray. I kind of know the routine because I've taken so many people there in the past. I said, I need to get an X-ray today. Is that possible? Sure. So she said, do you do this? Do you do this? Do you have this insurance? No, I don't have any of that. And she said, okay, just take this over to the cashier, which is the routine. You pay first, and then you get the procedure. And it was a total of 350 pesos, or $7. I think that's what I wrote down. No, $6. It was $6. I'm using an exchange rate of 55 at the moment. $6 for an X-ray. And then I went to radiology. Me and I went in there. Sat there for 5 minutes. They called my name. They took about 3 or 4 swings at doing the X-ray because they couldn't get the thing right and kept messing. So finally they got it. And I have metal in my neck, so he kept picking that up. And it was from a surgery in 2000, but like I said, I digress. Anyway, so he finally got this X-ray, and they told us that we can come by at 1:30 and pick up the results. So that is the story. I was so excited when I got juiced in this month to go ahead and get, in 2 weeks, get the first cataract done here in Dumaguete instead of having to bug out to Cebu. And then already being set up for the following month to do the other eye. Has nothing to do with the bags yet. It's just, he said, I asked him, can you do, that, and then can you do these while you're at it? He said, no, Paul. First we do the eyes, first we do the cataracts, and then after that's all settled down, we're probably looking at December. I don't know, that's Christmas time. I don't know what this guy's schedule is going to be. Possibly January. I'll be going into Asian mode if I could get into him. And whether I do that in Dumaguete or I do that in Cebu doesn't really matter. How much does all this stuff cost? All right, for your record here, I am going with the mono. I told you that. And the gross amount is 123,000 pesos. However, cash discount is 23,000 pesos right off the bat. And then deductions for seniors, which I qualified for. I didn't know that. I thought you had to be a citizen, but no, you just have to be an old fart. And they took away the 12% VAT, and they took away, which was 10,698 pesos, and then 20% flat across the board senior citizen discount was 17,000 pesos. So those two combined was a negative 28,529 total for one eye. Cataract surgery is 71,323 pesos, which comes to $1,300 per eye, $2,600 for the whole enchilada. Now, I had it in my head that it was $4,000, and I wasn't wrong, because if I went with the multifocal, without going through all the discounts, all the same discounts apply, the amount is, whoops, that's the wrong page. Oh, here it is. The amount is 126,279 pesos. That's just using a different lens. That nothing else has changed. And that's $2,290 per eye, or about $4,500 for the whole enchilada. I think that's pretty comparable for what they charge in America. I know that I was told that with Medicare, if you do the mono like I'm doing, there's no upcharge. But if you use the upgraded lens, then you pay for that out of pocket. So the answer to the question of Will I do the operation and the surgery here in the Philippines? Absolutely, positively, because I feel 100% confident in this physician. And to put a cherry on top, a friend of mine that just happened to be talking to me a few weeks ago knew who I was talking about. He had had some severe problem, retina tear or something to that effect, something with his retina, and nobody could, he'd been to a number of doctors and nobody could had the ability to fix it, but this guy that's doing my surgery did fix it. He says, I see perfectly. He says, this guy's a genius. And this is coming from a friend of mine that I've known for 4 or 5 years. I know there's other doctors in town. I could get other opinions. I know there's other lenses that are in between. I've had those explained to me to some degree, and that's still an option in the other eye. I'm going to kind of play it by ear. Here's the thing that I don't know. How are my tests going to come back? Are they going to find an anomaly with my chest x-ray? I've been a smoker for a long time. That's my bad. I own that. There could be an issue there. Are they going to find a problem with my blood sugar? I don't think so, because I don't eat a lot of sugar or sweet stuff. I do my best just to do protein. I do some carbs. Every blue moon I'll have a piece of cake or something at a birthday party, but I don't do sodas and I don't do ice cream bars or any of that kind of stuff. I primarily just drink coffee and water, and that's the deal. I think that's one reason my blood pressure goes so high. I think it's the smoking is the number one problem for that. So like I said, I want to do a cessation possibly by the end of the year, but I don't want to commit to that because you know how that goes. But we'll be talking about that in the future. I think that the drama of driving down here and just the fact that I had 5 cups of coffee probably added to it, and the fact that I was off my medication, or never did take my medication. I just took the pill that she gave me, and I'm going to go down the street right now at the end of this video, which is now, you're both all saying thank God, it's over, and pick up my wife, and my brother-in-law's got a blood pressure monitor, which I don't. So I might be buying one of those in the future, but I'm going to go use his to see if this pill did any good. All right, kids, I appreciate you hanging in there. I hope that everything goes well with my tests and that I'm able to have this surgery. And if I don't have the surgery and they do find something else is wrong with me, I'm going to count that as a blessing. Because if I hadn't have gone in for this and there's something else wrong with me that needs correction, well, then that's going to take priority. I can go another 6 months or whatever it might be without the cataract surgery. I'll survive. I'll live through it. It's something I want to do, but what I want and what I need are generally 2 different things, and I always try to place needs in front of wants. All right, kiddos. Thanks for hanging in there with me if you're still with me, and I will see you in the next video.